Hey. So, I had a lot of things that I was going to do tonight at work, but right now I can't think of anything right now to do besides my job. So, wonderful. Good to see you guys. For anybody who tunes in, working on building up my YouTube channel. If you want to support me and Phoenix's Rising Academy, then please check out the link in the description or in my About tab, and you'll get my Patreon or my uh, Linktree link, and you can be a subscriber at Patreon. You can choose a tier. Also, what I'm adding to, there's two tiers right now, a $15 tier and a $35 tier. The $35 tier is the $35 tier because you guys are getting an hour, 35 minutes to an hour of ASMR, uh, relaxation sounds, white noise, brown noise, beta, gamma waves to enhance chakra frequencies and things of that nature. And you're also getting affirmations done by me, recorded and produced by me. So that's what you're getting. In the $15 one, you're getting 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes of affirmations and uh, relaxation sounds, and you're getting certain TikTok replays that had a big impact on the Phoenix's Rising Academy members. So tonight's topic, or this morning actually for me, it's 4 a.m. So the topic is, I forgot, but I wrote one down. um, what has been on my mind to talk about has been the realization. I did a little snippet on TikTok talking about, just because you're good at something. That's what the thing was. Just because you're good at something, Phoenix, is Witchcraft and Crabs. That's the topic. I had to go onto my other phone. So just because you're good at something does not mean that you're mediocre. See, we have been inverted from our natural divine gifts, and which is what they have to do so that they can control us. Right? This world wants to control us. The cluster B personalities have to control us. And the way that they control us is by getting inside of our minds, Phoenixes. I have been dealing with something for a couple weeks now where I'm not able to take my normal naps like I was able to. And I thought, well, maybe it's because I quit smoking and I was working out a lot. But I was like, wait a minute, because I am working out a lot. And when I work out, Phoenixes, I work out hard. I am very thick and stocky. So I work out hard, and really I've been concentrating on cardio because the Most High said work on build up your stamina. I'm like, okay, don't know what that means really, but I will do it. So that's what I've been working on. So naturally, I would be able to take a nap. One thing, as an abusive tactic, choice is as sleep deprivation. Right? So if you're not able to take those naps that you would normally be able to take, then what are you going to be? You're going to be tired. You're going to be weak, right? Which demonic entities, walk-ins, human fragmented spirits, human, soul fragments, fragmented souls will try and enter you. Again, I've said this before. When I am not that professional life coach, transition coach, NARC coach, who's just going to stick by the book because the book doesn't say even a third of what you actually experience when you are dealing with a narcissist. The only author and licensed psychiatrist and psychologist, I believe, is Shahidi Arabi. And she is on TikTok as well, and she is also on Instagram, so please go look her up. But she is a phenomenal writer. I'm reading her book now, Power. I got it on Kindle, and I just plan on reading more of her books. And I should have gotten it a long time ago. I like the paperback, but I went ahead and got the Kindle version. So anyway, we are inverted inside of ourselves because, and this is what I mean, there is darkness and there is light. We are of the light. Okay. So when people see us. You're blindsided because what? You're focused on your mission. Some of us are a little bit sanguine. Some of us are a little bit kind of heads in the clouds, right? Because we have been traumatized, and so we may have healed partially, but maybe we're still coping through, use of marijuana or use of alcohol, or whatever we engage in. But uh, the thing of it is, we are constantly being kind of put through this grinder, like a disposal, right? Where we're being turned around and around and around and around, so that we're discombobulated. When we stop ourselves from doing being discombobulated, and we get on our do our shadow work, we get that inner healing going, that's when things start to make sense. So that's when things started to make sense with me. And again, I'll repeat, people, toxic people, character disturbed people, also known as cluster B personalities. Google who are in that class, or write in, go ahead and watch another video of mine in the playlist of Phoenix Rising Academy. But they have to have the upper hand. And in meditation, what the revelation has been for me is that, and I shared this already on another YouTube, my last YouTube, so go check that out. I forget the title of it, but what I talked about there was the fact that sometimes we're thrown other people's defects of character. I grew up being labeled, being uh, uh, being labeled with toxic characteristics because I grew up Black in a dysfunctional home. Later, my sexual orientation would be added as a reason, as a symptom to why, and it wasn't everybody that I saw. It wasn't every therapist, which is, again, if you guys know my position on it, I don't go, you got to, because I'm not going to pay you to use me as a guinea pig. For me personally, I'm not going to pay you to use me as a guinea pig. I'm not going to pay you not to listen to me, to fall asleep, or to tune out and with your eyes wide open. I'm not going to pay to be devalued politely, right? In a very insidious way, right? So doesn't mean that there aren't good therapists out there. They've just, for me, I could run across one and we see eye to eye, or we vibe at the same vibration. It is putting that out there and saying, I would like to attract a therapist that we vibe at the same vibration. But as I'm reflecting back and as I've done my shadow work, and I just knowing what hurts me is not what I went through. What hurts me is that there are still people out here like this, claiming, to be helping people, and it's a game for them. And they're into the office politics, and everybody's trying to scramble to get such and such, right? You know what I mean? So I know that I live my life now with not a lot of tethers, as much as possible, right? But so anyway, the what in meditation the Most High had revealed to me is, like, a lot of times we are taking on what is a fad, what is a trend. So if other people are into a certain trend because they're in a certain field, they're going to transcribe or ascribe characteristics that aren't yours. They're going to and witchcraft is, they're gonna say a spell over you, that because if it doesn't fit, right, if it's not who you are, if they're not speaking truth, then they're telling a lie that they need to come true, so that way their purpose, they have that purpose, their purpose comes through to fruition, because see, look at this is who also has this, right? So I literally, when I got out of my abusive home and started to understand, I think, and one thing that the Most High revealed to me is that, as many of us light workers, earth angels, as many of us empaths, we do by nature, we do naturally. And so the Most High was like, and you always transform, right? I'm always doing that. So are you, right? You're not, you don't want to, that's why you're here. You don't want to stay stagnant. You don't want to hold on anymore to what happened at 5 years old that was not your fault, or what happened at your job that was not your fault, right? See, because like me, if you're anything like me, I am very much aware of my body. I've always been just in tune, very, very much in tune to my body, very much in tune to my thoughts. Now, very much in tune to the world around me because I've had to be, right? But also because that was just my natural disposition. See, without the abuse, I would literally just be an antenna filtering, absorbing and filtering, absorbing and filtering, Taurus, absorbing and filtering, absorbing and filtering, right? So that's where the wisdom comes from. But so basically what happens is because, and so the topic with the witches and crabs was because I was thinking about this. I was like, people will say, again, the spell that they put on us, right? Even when they're trying to help us, is that we always have to have this victim victor, right, mentality. Like people say, well, this is why you're always attracting such and such and such and such, because they need to keep that pattern going. Phoenixes, hopefully I'm explaining this right, you guys. Basically, we're told that we're always going to be with a narcissist. We're all, basically us empaths are always pushed almost seemingly by the universe, even if we've healed deeply on a molecular dimensional level. Even if we've healed, it seems like, you get people who, again, you meet people's energy before you meet people. You're meeting my energy before you're meeting me. Okay? You're meeting my energy. We meet energies beforehand. So you may think, okay, somebody's your soulmate, but because of the way their appearance, they can't be with you. Guys can't be together because why? They are so into the worldly thing, and what does Bob and Steve have, and how are they perceived, or whatever. You may not be, right? You may not be in that income bracket, right? And they're worried about that. So it doesn't mean that, you're not soulmates, but it means that you're not going to be together unless one of you changes. You get out of poverty mentality and this person comes down on the materialism, right? So, and if that happens, great, more power to you. If it doesn't, okay. But, so anyway, we are pushed into these relationships, and especially empaths, because we are healers. So again, when people meet us, when we first come into this world, people know. Example, I have a fur baby named Nubian. Bless her holy heart. I love her. And she loves me, right? So before this sweetheart opened her eyes, right? Mind you, we're homeless. I finally had gotten a job. They were born as I'd gotten my new job. They were born while I was at work, right? So I came home, and here they are, and gorgeous. But I passed her one night. I put them all back into this big box with blankets and everything else so I could see them and whatever, because I wanted to relax on the bed. And I was getting ready to go out the door. They were right by the door of the hotel. And this something in her called to me. So when you have met your soulmate, right? And because there's this energetic boom, like, you know what I mean? Like, whoa, just like if you meet somebody who's pure, unadulterated, unfiltered evil, there's what just happened, right? So when you meet your soulmate, so when we're kindred spirits, okay, and just so happens that Nubian looks like my Staffy in body, takes after my Staffy in body, and in attitude, she mimics her, but looks like her mom, has the markings of her mom. which is beautiful because I prayed for that because I was like, I don't want to deal with a medium hair or a long hair. I wanted short hair is all we got. Short hair. I got to keep with that. But my point is that she recognized me. She recognized my soul because she hadn't even had her eyes open yet. This puppy, who was probably at the time 2 weeks old, a week old, 2 weeks old. I think she was about a week old. I think she was 2 weeks old. Hadn't even opened her eyes yet. They were just, crawling around trying to, get their mom's teeth. And I passed by and I knew it was her. I knew that there was something about her anyway from my end, right? But here I am, I'm going through all this stress because it's hard living. It's summer in California. It's gotten to 110 degrees. I am walking 4 miles to work, 4 miles back from work. Okay. It's not a pretty sight. It's not. So I wasn't really able to focus on the babes as much as I was. Just like it's sometimes, they stopped being family and became dogs. Somehow that's how I was like rationalizing, okay, I might not being able to spend time. But anyway, Nubian with her eyes closed at 2 weeks, probably was able to recognize me as somebody that she loved. They recognize that we have a connection. Again, this baby's eyes were closed. She hadn't opened them. None of them had opened their eyes. But when I passed, she recognized me. To this day, she's kind of clingy in my, for me. But she's always wanting to cuddle. She's always wanting to give kisses. She loves me to pieces. Loves me to pieces. So, Phoenixes, if a newborn 2-week-old pup with no eyes, with their eyes closed, with their eyelids shut, not able to see anything, can recognize my spirit, what do you think that people who have their eyes open feel? I mean, it's like the story of Jesus and John, it's like they both leapt inside their mother's wombs. One did and the other didn't. I haven't read for a while. But you see what I'm saying? So we recognize it. So here comes, when people, and there's already been this, we already know that cluster B personalities mimic what it's like to be us. You have a lot of these people in this spiritual community, and I've met some, right? I met some who are in the spiritual community, demonic as all get out. But they're preaching love and light, but they're racist, right? Calling themselves urban goddess or something, always has to do with trees. And they're using whatever they're into, right? Whatever persona character they're getting ready to play, that they're doing the study and the research on right before they present it, because they're using that field or that sect, that audience, to get supply. What a better way? I mean, that's kind of like, if somebody works at a daycare center and they hate kids or they want to abuse kids, trigger warning, but you know what I mean? So it's like, sometimes not everything is what it seems. But so people believe that, because of who runs this world, who runs this physical world, they believe that that this is something we have to do. Right? They say, oh, there's a battle and this is so heroic, and no, it's not, because it doesn't have to be. This is the way that these demonic entities have set it up for themselves. This is not a place for us to be. There's been, they've created insidiously, slowly, meticulously, and with precision, and timing and dates and, using astrology and whatever to be able to be fed. Opening certain portals and messing with particles that don't need to be messed with, because what? You're not God. You don't have the skills or the knowledge to be able to deal with it. You're killing off the people who do. You're killing off the indigenous. And when I say indigenous, I mean First Nation, I mean Navajo, I mean Blackfeet, and so on. I'm not talking about Aztecs. I don't, I'm not. So just to be specific. But they believe that we have to do this dance to our detriment. Like me being ascribed because of my skin color, because of my gender, because of my socioeconomic status or whatever, these characteristics that they like, it's so they tell you so much that this is what you got to do. And they shut off. If you've ever been in a relationship, those of you who have been in relationships with cluster B personalities, with the narcissist, the psychopath, the sociopath, etc., that whole cocktail, those of you who have been in those relationships, what do? The abuser has to cut off your life support. You notice that when you start dating somebody, here's a red flag that you Phoenixes should watch out for. When you start dating somebody and they start having problems and criticizing your friends, right off the bat, they're criticizing your friends because they can recognize them as a strong ally to you. They can recognize you as somebody who's going to point out their demonic behavior and their intentions. Right? So they don't want to, all of a sudden, if your friend stops showing up after they got into a relationship, that might be why. That might be why. That might be why. So when they cut you off. So, and it's something that is just so insidious, it's unseen, but it's felt. Where sometimes we are being navigated like sheep to slaughter, like sheep by a sheep herder and their dogs. We're being navigated into directions where we don't want to go because somebody said so. And that with cluster B personalities, so this is basically, Phoenixes, what we're dealing with. We are dealing with cluster B personalities who are running our world, right? They may talk about saving the planet, but then you got somebody else who's trying to make you buy oxygen, make you pay for water, you know what I mean? Which we do now, but you know what I mean? So they're trying to, trying to get it copyrighted or something like that, trying to get the water trademarked or what, you know what I mean? Like, these are people who, why would you think of doing something like that? And we brush it off, and because most of us it's cognitive dissonance or whatever, and we brush this behavior off as, oh yeah, it's just because the rich, It's like, no, because poor people do similar shit. This is our neighborhood. These are our gang colors. We're going to put this up here, and you can't say illegal, or you can't say immigrant, or you got to say migrant. You got to say all this stuff. To get, the further you get away from who they authentically, intrinsically are. Like, I am working with you, Phoenixes, to get into your mind. Deprogram your mind. Recognize, like a heat missile. Go in and recognize what needs to be changed. What is no longer working for you. Like a heat missile, go in and change that and watch yourself grow and blossom. So they don't want you to get close. You have to get close to yourself and find out what's going on with why did this trauma happen? Because nobody's there to help you, right? Most of the time. Okay. And the cluster B personalities wants everybody as far away from them as possible. Just because they love bomb you, they idealize you, they love bomb you, and then they discard you. Not necessarily because with vampires, oh, you've been drained, so okay, you need to go rest. The psychological abuse is, well, you can't do this without me, and you're going to have to learn, and I'm punishing you, and da 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 da. Because why? They have like a slave master mentality. I'm special. You're my property. You're my chattel. Right? So this is what I'm going to, but you'll come back to me. And if you don't come back to them, they're going to hover you, which is another way of saying they're going to stalk you. They're going to stalk you because it's a narcissistic wound. What do you mean you've changed up? You've jumped out of the loop that I had going here. You jumped out of your grooming. You jumped out of your conditioning to accept my toxicity. You've jumped out of it. How dare you? Right? That's what they do. That's what they do. So so the wisdom that God gave me was, yeah, hey, look, this is what it is. Because, and so people it's like a snake charmer. Okay, well, I want you to do, you got to go here, because I remember when people were telling me that when I wanted to get out of toxics, and this is real shit, you guys, when I wanted to get out of toxic relationships or environments, away from people, especially as a Black person with this Black liberation, movement or whatever, where they were saying, well, that's what white people want you to do. They want you, they're going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it because they want you to run so that they can have all the time. Okay. But see, I didn't know anything about cluster B personalities, and I didn't know the characteristics and the traits of the cocktail and the including the malignant narcissist. I had no idea at that time. I had no idea how deep the rabbit hole went. But that's how, when people say stuff like that and they use race or they use gender, well, you don't need to walk away. We need to stand up and we need to fight. No, if somebody you're dulling somebody's natural instinct for survival. I was always taught that because we were Black and we were fighting against, white supremacy. I didn't understand that, no, they actually don't want you to leave. They want you to come back, because then they'll start coming after you. When they already know who they are. Narcissists, cluster B personalities, demonic entities are all cool with each other. They all know who they are. They're not going to get fed. They may get some wisdom. Oh, snap, you did that to that person? Okay, I'll try that with my next supply. So be leery of people who are always telling you, oh, well, don't run. That's what they want you to do. Or implying that you're a coward when it's self-preservation. I think about the years that I went through just, okay, well, you got to be Black enough, or you got to be, gay enough, and you got to stand up for this and you got to stand up for that. I have to be honest with you, Phoenixes. There's times where if it's not my battle, it's not my battle. If it's not my purpose, it's not my purpose. It's not my purpose to save the water in the ocean, but I can do my duty and try and, buy things that are biodegradable or whatever. Right? I don't have to stand up for every flipping cause, because even the people who are standing up for a cause, it's just a sorority where other people get together, but you're really not making a dent, are you? And I know that seems kind of harsh for people, but there's reality. You got to stop gaslighting yourself, because the world's not going to change if people are still in a dreamland. If people are still coming over from a fantasy, because when you have these fantasies, when you are immature, you don't have that emotional intelligence, right? You can regurgitate the program. You can do your street theater. You can march with your whatever. Now, we've gone past the days where those marches help, right? We've gone past the days where those marches actually help. Everything is staged. And I know that that's hard for people to hear, but these things are staged. Where people think, oh gosh, yeah, I'm doing so much to save the environment and climate change. No, you're talking a lot, because it's too much for you to handle. This has been going on for hundreds of years. It was called being industrious, and now it's, people were, with the whales and dolphins and fish and wildlife are being stifled and suffering, in the water, outside of the water. The whole ecosystems is screwed up because companies are dumping everywhere because they get that kick. They give somebody a kickback or pay some senator or whatever. Because I'm wondering, how is somebody worth 300,000 or 300,000 million, 300 million? How is somebody worth that much who's supposed to be a senator? How are you worth that much when you don't read a bill completely? When you don't really do anything, how is it that, you know what I mean? Because everybody's scratching each other's hands. Once you get in, narcissism. We're going to tell you whatever it is that you want to hear because we want to bait you. We want you to go along and play your role. Sometimes it's just about playing a role. Sometimes it's not about supplies. Sometimes it's not, because that is, you playing your role is a supply. But sometimes it's not about sex. It's not about money. It's not about status. It's just about we need you to play your role. Then if you play your role, then all this goes. If you've been in a relationship, gotten out of a relationship or whatever, reflect back, Phoenixes, on to how they looked at you. Like, I know one lady, wasn't dating her or anything, but the one lady, she would be like, she would do it. She would say her script and she'd sit there in pose and wait for the response, but that she knew was coming. And when it didn't, she would literally be mad. When I didn't give it to her, I was just staring at her in awe, like, oh my God, like, really? You're not okay, dude. You're seriously not okay. Right? But in her mind, she wanted me to play my role. Right? And so when you don't play your role, when you're not allowing yourself to be the punching bag, when you're not allowing yourself to be the scapegoat, when you're not allowing yourself to absorb witchcraft that's coming at you, when you return it to sender, return it to conjurer, right? Because nobody has any power over your life. Think about this. We are being conditioned, especially now with all these witch shows and stuff like this. And at first I was like, okay, cool, because I have it in my family. It's in my bloodline, of course, unless I wouldn't have been able to recognize it. So I don't want to demonize wise women or men, but what is demonic is when you're doing petty things because you have a character disturbance. Because you're disturbed and you want to get back at somebody for rightfully rejecting your advances, or you want to get back at somebody for missing you on a promotion, or you know what I mean? Just little thing, because that is what this is, because cluster B personalities are not very mature. They're not mature. They lack emotional intelligence. They didn't heal themselves, and it mutated into this hub where demonic entities have their way with the individual, right? So we don't have to be in these relationships, but people arrest us, kind of paralyze us into, okay, well, because when they recognize our spirit, they're like, okay, well, this is where you're going to go. Why? Because they've probably heard it so many times. They've read a book on narcissists, the war between narcissists and empaths, or whatever, right? Or they've watched movies. How many movies have you seen where, you get this abusive person, and you go out and then you get another abuse, you know what I mean? They're basically they're writing it for you, and when you ingest that by your vision, and your brain processes it to the best of its ability with the information that's in the libraries, they can't do very much if you're not having awakened yourself to it. They can't do anything, right? But there's so many subliminal hypnotic psychological programming that we go through to play these roles. Imagine being in another country and you get to watch snakes on the plane, and you get to thinking that this is how Black people are. right? So we're not taken seriously and we're grouped together, right? So the crabs part of the title comes in from cluster B personalities don't want you to go anywhere. They don't want you to ascend. They don't want you to rise. See, back in the day, right? They had intellectual telepathy, psychic powers and gifts on because they were using more functions of their brain, and they didn't. But I mean, it's. I'm thinking that they didn't have a whole bunch of problems like we have now, right? Our problems are insidious, most of it, most of it. When you know that your water's poisoned, when you know that your food's poisoned and you can't eat anything, when you know that, you don't really want to get to know anybody because if you do, they might come and you reject them, they might come back and do something to you, right? There's all this where we don't memorize telephone numbers anymore. We just plug them into a phone book, digital phone book, right? We don't hold books in our hands anymore. We can get them through Kindle. Very seldom, I have a whole bunch of books, right? And if we get books and we don't have the time to read the books. You understand? See? And so, we live in a total, I mean, my generation was the golden generation because we set it up for this generation, which feels like they're entitled. So, but also in our generation, because of the psychological warfare. Oh, let me do this. Because of psychological warfare and that paradigm of victim, predator, whatever, right? There were a lot of narcissists who were created because in the Black community, especially because it's like, oh, my son's going to be beaten or killed by a police officer. And so the female children were overlooked. And now the female children have risen, right? So that they can raise their female children. Right. And so there's that difference. But yeah, so it's with the crabs, it's like they don't want you to ascend without them, and them knowing that they can't ascend. You can't serve two masters, which is what cluster B personalities do with inside of themselves. That's what they're trying to do. And it never really works, because once you get over the fear of the bullying and the stalking and the flying monkeys and all that other kind of stuff, that, the targeting and trying to, sometimes even kill you or get you to kill yourself, right? And so people was like, oh, I'm doing this electronic harassment and they're doing this. No, it's not electronic harassment. It's just people who are very skilled in manipulation and in psychological warfare. That's what that is. But when you since they don't want you to rise above phoenixes and get out, because it's a narcissistic wound to them. So they're trying to serve two masters within themselves, and we only have one, right? We only have one, and that's our creator. Where they believe that they are the creator and the destroyer, and they are entitled to that, right? They believe that they are God. Like we are gods within ourselves. We can create, you bet. But there are rules and there are laws that we have to adhere to that cluster B personalities don't want to. They really feel like, and they obsess. Until they get you down, they obsess. So the crabs in the barrel are, the cluster B personalities, flying monkeys who are like, oh gosh, they're getting away from me. Somebody go get them, right? Hold them for me so I can punish them. Hold them in this boiling pot that I've created, in this atmosphere, this toxic, sick, demonic atmosphere that I've created for everybody. Hold them there. Hold them there. Right? Because the worst thing that you can do, phoenixes, is heal. The worst thing that you can do is heal. And see, it's hard because people don't want to be alone. People don't want to be labeled with anything, right? Nobody wants to be labeled a recluse or whatever. Celibacy has been part of my spiritual practice because, not because I don't enjoy the act, but because I can't be tainted. I can't be tainted. If there's something divinely that God has for me to do, if it's with a part, if I have a partnership, I have a partnership. But I don't want to be sitting, I don't do this anyway, because again, I'm what do they call us? Sapiosexual or something like that. I forget. But anyway, if you're not, if I'm not intellectually stimulated, right? That's one way. If I'm not intellectually stimulated, then it's a no go. But that's, again, I've said this before, that's also a way that demonic forces enter you, is through sex. So you're getting everybody. You're getting the one. I met a succubus. I've told you guys about her, but one thing that was really odd, fascinating, because I see into the spiritual realm and I feel into the spiritual realm. So I can feel entities, and the feeling is so intense that for me, sometimes it forms an imprint or a silhouette that I can see. And she had demons attachments to her. I actually saw them. I saw one attached to her little girl, her wound. It was huge. It was just this dark mass. That's it. No form, no nothing, just a dark mass. I've also seen her form in the spiritual realm, kind of like, what is that called? Oh, Full Metal Alchemist, the seven deadly sins, right? Where in her body was a slug. It was a slug body, kind of like Medusa, but not the hair or anything, because she had straight hair, but you know what I mean? You start to see people in their true form and their true nature. And sometimes that scares us, and we try and deaden it, right? Or we don't mention it, or when we shy away, or sometimes, like I didn't shy away, but I was just like, I didn't do as much as I should have, to learn how to protect. Now I know how to protect myself. Doesn't mean that you're still not going to get attacked, because your light is still shining. So that's what I mean, Phoenix. It's like, do not allow somebody to push you into a path, to get you off of your path, because that's what they do. That's what they do. When somebody says, oh yeah, you need to stay with this person because this is what you got to do. You got to heal yourself. Use it, yes, use it to heal yourself, but it doesn't mean you have to be with that person. You don't have to lie down in the same bed with that person. You don't have to sleep with that person. You don't have to share a bank account with that person, right? See, when people say narcissism, they think, oh, the Kardashians or whatever. No. Because the Kardashians are character assassinating somebody that they don't want. See, that's a discard. That's what you're watching. You're watching a discard between Kanye and Kim. I don't watch it. I've never liked her. I've always felt something off with the family, from the sex tape and all that other kind of stuff. It's just, you know what I mean? No, to me, I mean, when you can have the police, I don't even want to go into that, but yeah. So, so the best thing to do is to get to know you, right? Is to have that courage. Don't allow it to to scare you into not getting into your purpose, not exploring, right? Because you're not going to be alone, right? Some of us are to be alone, some of us aren't. Okay. And that's something, when you start clearing away and unpacking and clearing your spiritual pipes out so that you have more of a direct connection with the Most High, our Creator, then you can ask. I did. Ask. And see, a lot of times when people will try and keep you from anything good, I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but they'll try and keep you from good things unless they can siphon it from you. They'll try and keep you from good things, good people, good relationships, businesses. My business has been sabotaged since I've started it. We're going into 2 years pretty soon. My business has been sabotaged by the people in the city, by gang stalkers, right? And gang stalkers can be anybody from a soccer mom to a high school teacher to a gym, instructor, to somebody working at Walmart. All right. So, uh, it's a hard road. It's a hard road, but if you are truly there, I guess there comes a point in time too, Phoenixes, that you want it so bad. You want to change, and you're willing to go through whatever it is that you have to go through, right? And then there's going to be this lull, like right now, where it'll kind of stop, or with the gang stalking. Um, for some of you, it's like it's been going on for a while, and you're just tired of it, and it's like, when is it going to stop? Um, and it is stopping because things are changing, right? So it has to stop. It's been going for 20 something years, again, since 9/11. But I think the thing that I want to say to you guys is that when you do your healing work, when you do your shadow work, when you start to recognize energies, you have that spirit of discernment. Recognizing energies equals spirit of discernment. So when you have that spirit of discernment, right, you can tell what's yours, you can tell what's God's, you can tell what's your angels, you can tell, what is the gang stalkers or whatever. So when you're able to do that, you can heal quickly, quit more quickly, and you can block, right? And you have to go after your mind. You have to renew your mind. You have to, in renewing your mind, is letting go of things that no longer serve you, belief systems, thoughts about yourself, right? As I said, if you're a Patreon member, it's an hour long, so that way, time it to where you go on the site and you listen to affirmations on gratitude. You need to work on gratitude. Go listen to affirmations on gratitude, right? You need to just get some a vibration booster. Then listen to it before you go to sleep, or as you're sleeping. These are things that you can do, because I know that sometimes it gets exhausting trying to deflect different various peoples, especially if you're a targeted individual. But it can happen. It can be done. It can be done. Oh, this is like an old house sometimes, and the energy has been really heightened, and I'm not sure why, but something feels off to me as well. So prayers. Um, but again, it's when you defeat them, when you defeat the cluster B personalities by healing yourself in different areas of your life, right? And we know, because they're creatures of habit, they're pattern makers. They continue to loop in this, using the same patterns, using the same tools, speaking the same way, right? They don't do anything new, right? And we may, just as regular people, as spiritual beings, do that. We all do that to a certain and a greater or lesser degree. The thing of it is that the cluster B personalities are never going to get out of that. And their whole intention is to destroy people. It's weird when you wake up and you say, okay, that person does not, I don't think that person deserves what they're getting, and I'm going to take it. Whether it's $5 or a nickel. Right? That person doesn't deserve that. I'm going to take it. That's what these guys think. That is really what these guys think. So again, it's sometimes people will push us. We're pushed by society because of the belief system that there needs to be this dramatic conflict, and we all need to watch it play out, right? Kind of like the Roman theater. And I think that most people are unconscious of the fact that they're doing this, obviously, right? And then there's just the patterns that where narcissists and psychopaths and cluster B personalities are always antisocial. They're always blaming other people for their problems. They're always projecting. They're always transferring. Well, you should have stayed here. No, I shouldn't have. I should have gone about my business a long time ago and let you get your ass handed to you. That's what I should have let you do, right? Because you can't save anybody, Phoenixes. You can't save majority of the people out here because they don't want to be saved, because they don't know if they don't want to be, either they're embarrassed right? Or they don't believe that there's anything wrong with them, right? Another thing too is when you start taking back your power, right? You start being able to recognize what are your thoughts, again, what are your thoughts and what are somebody else's thoughts, because a lot of times I hear my attempted victimizers, I guess you could say. I hear what they're saying. I've heard them say, die, just die, die, die. And this is every day. I'm every day I'm getting some kind of nick, right? Every day one of them is trying to convince me that I don't need to move, convince me that I don't need to be celibate, convince me that God doesn't love me, what I mean, all this stuff. And I'm an adult, I'm a mature adult, and we get this type of bullying, right? So imagine what kids in high school are getting, right? I have bullied before. I'd be a liar if I said otherwise. But the way that you get out of this, Phoenixes, is by renewing your mind. Get to love yourself. Get to know yourself on every fiber of your being, and every level and every dimension. Get to know yourself, because when you get to know yourself, you get to know God. You get to know the Creator. You get to know the Most High when you get to know yourself. Because when they can't distract you, like these people have been pissed off because they couldn't have sex with me, right? They have thought of everything in the book to try and get back at me, or to get me to be broken down, or to go to prison, or to kill myself, or to have somebody else unalive me, right? And it's no longer crazy making. See, it helps you with your sanity too, when you start looking at things from a spiritual perspective instead of just black and white thinking. There's a lot of gray in this world, right? There's a lot of gray, and nothing bad, nothing wrong with the gray. There's just, it's just, you know there's just a lot. Keeping your sanity is very important, right? In this world, especially right now, is the bottom line. That's what I'm talking about tonight, and I'm tired. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. And I wasn't able to take my nap, and it's frustrating me because I know that it's off kilter. See, I can recognize when something's a psychic attack. I can also recognize when somebody's doing it to try and pay me back. Well, I'm going to make you vulnerable so that I can get in, because you're not getting my energy. When you stop giving away your energy and you learn how to hold yourself down, you learn how to command the particles in the universe to create a wave that formulates into a barrier around you and your babes and your family, right? When you learn how to do that, they get pissed off. They're pissed off because you outwitted them, and they think that they're supposed to be so smart. So smart. So I hope this has helped many of you. If so, please like, subscribe, and share. I don't know when I'll be back on. I'm not supposed to really be told myself I was taking a break, so I haven't been on for a minute. Whew. But yeah, so just remember, not everything has to do with you, Phoenixes. And because we're smart, and because we've been traumatized, we've absorbed and processed so much. And I was thinking about this before I came to work this morning. I was thinking about it. I said, you know what? I've processed so much. I have processed so much that I have processed so much that there have been times where I've wondered, am I them now? Am I the narcissist? Am I acting like them? Am I doing things like them? And you know what I mean? I mean, this seems similar, so we start questioning. And the thing that I would say is, like, no. As long as you're still healing, as long as you're going to your counselor and you can talk about it, you're fine. Say a little prayer for you. Sorry about that. I'm dozing off. Anyway, so yeah, it's time to go. Time to go. Because it's been deep. It's been really thick. So me having bouts like that, and I notice I only get like that when I'm about ready before I'm going to work. All of a sudden, I start getting anxiety. All of a sudden, I get bubble guts, and I've been fine the whole day. I've been fine those whole 8 hours until I go to work to do the other 8 hours, or I start stuttering, or all of a sudden I get tired or whatever. It's always something new. But again, my thing for you phoenixes is to, when you learn about yourself, when you start unpacking, when you start getting honest with yourself, and you become willing to do your shadow work, whether you're having me help you or somebody else help you. Like I said, I'm not a licensed therapist, I'm a guide, but I do sessions, one-on-one sessions. But soon will come. But anyway, and I know I was supposed to be doing these online classes, but they're going to be on Patreon. So the 5 things about renewing your mind, workshops about renewing your mind, are going to be on Patreon. But as you can tell, I'm still dealing with my own stuff, phoenixes. But the reason why I'm still standing and I'm still breathing, especially when they're trying to unalive me, is that it actually works because I'm doing it. Right? I just dozed off. I showed you. It's like that. That's I'm it's not that you're not going to be attacked. It's not that you're not going to be affected. It's just that you're not, when you start doing your shadow work and you do that inner work and you do that inner healing, right? And you let go and you prune and you let it go, and you get used to people trying to intimidate you back in, right? To try and make you be a crab or whatever. When you understand that even though you've healed so much in your life, that things aren't going to be all bright and shiny and peachy, right? They're going to have to hide that demonic energy. They're going to have to hide that jealousy, right? They're going to have to hide it, right? So anyway, thank you, phoenixes, for listening. Sorry again for nodding off. Um, Caught myself, but just want you guys to do the best. I want the best for you. Spring has sprung, so be safe. Listen to your intuition. And remember, your blessings are in your ashes. Rise, Phoenix.